What's up guys, it's Richie Rich back yet again, and this time I am bringing you a review of the stand-up comedy Legendary series from 1992 to 1997, and this is Def Comedy Jam. Be sure to check this out. Yes man, so Def Comedy Jam, a very important mark in African American comedy, most importantly African American comedy in the United States of America. And yeah, I mean the reason why Def Comedy Jam was such an important hit, and the timing of the series, with it just like coming in, I've always said like yeah, I'm not just saying it because I'm a 90s baby and I'm a fan of the 90s, as pretty much everyone knows. This show, similar to how like the In Living Color TV sketch comedy show that I talked about before, so many stars broke out from this stand-up comedy series, that no one had seen such a mad abundance of emerging breathtaking like talent, that was shown on this and was able to showcase to all America. So like, before Def Comedy Jam, how it kind of worked in like comedy, and I always am talking about not black comedy as like deranged like black comedy. I'm talking about like African Americans portrayal in like the silver screen, we should say, in like comedy. Before like Def Comedy Jam hit, there was these like these landmark comedians that were there in each era who were basically labeled as, okay, they're the face of comedy. There's only one black comedian at a time, as like I think Lance Crawford, the guy who played in Breaking Bad, did. But a lot of comedians always talked about there's the one comedian at each time, which is basically proven. Like back in the day, you had, I think it was the 60s, you had Red Fox. After that, you had Pryor. Straight after that, in the 80s, basically a lot of people argue it's Eddie Murphy. When the 90s hit, some people say like it belonged to either Chris Rock or Martin Lawrence. Debatable which way you see it. I would obviously go with Martin, But in the 90s, when this show came out, all these comedians that no one ever had heard of, no one had ever seen, all were basically introduced within this TV series. Yeah, so really, man, to run down the list, I'm gonna try my best, so like, forgive me if I miss anyone, maybe some of you out there know the list of the comedians more than me, but I'm gonna try to run down with it from my best like knowledge, So from this show, obviously main front run was Martin Lawrence, at this time, which a lot of people don't know, Martin Lawrence was the host of this show, and he was also filming the Martin series within the same time, because this came out 1992 just like Martin, and it ended in 1997 just like Martin. Martin actually hosted more of the earliest part of the series, I think like the first 4 years, then like they had like performers who would come individually after, but like Martin was doing this and the Def Comedy Jam series, so it really just shows how he was able to balance both and be funny in both different areas. But you had Martin Lawrence, just on the back here, you had Chris Tucker, Bernie Mac, Chris Rock, Jamie Foxx, Bill Bellamy, Joe Torre, Guy Torre, Ricky Harris, I would say Reginald, is it Brahman, who's played by Reginald, says Hamburglar, D.L. Hughley, Downtown Tony Brown, Dave Chappelle, Eddie Griffin, Patrice O'Neal, I believe, played. Patrice O'Neal was there. Faison Love, Mike Epps, Queen Latifah, Angela Means. I'm gonna remember that, my Felicia. She was there, and that's the best I can do on the top of my head. There, like I said, there was a onslaught number of black comedians. Flex Alexander, who I forgot to mention, who appeared in the later TV series One on One. He was introduced on this series. You'll find out that a lot of the black sitcoms that really burst out in the 90s and went on to like the 2000s, a lot of the comedians who end up in the title role, they paired in Def Comedy Jam, so it was a great way for them lot to get discovered. So how the show mainly ran was Martin Lawrence would, the first episode, Martin Lawrence was the host. He'd introduce the show and he would get like the fans kind of like, really pumped up and ready for like the next like comedian to come on stage. Because Martin, he already had, you could kind of tell like he already had this just natural hosting skills, to be like just comfortable on the stage, and get the, say like if the comedian behind him was probably not able to follow Martin, or like the comedian before was probably possibly nervous, like wow, the crowd may seem kind of dead, I don't know if I've got what it takes to liven it up. Martin did his so best to get the crowd already kind of riled and pumped up, for the next comedian, so you already put this kind of joy to the area. Because I believe I believe the show was filmed in, it was New York City, my home away from home, I'm not sure if it was in Brooklyn or not, or even the Apollo Fair, but it was in, New York City. If you can make it New York, you can make it, anywhere and that. So, he was able to get like the fans, which, of course was a major black audience, and, he was able just to like create that thing. Because what I always love with Martin is, Martin from all the other comedians, he brought this like rawness, that I only think Eddie Murphy was doing a bit before, when he did his own stand-ups like Delirious, and like, his other like, comedy one night specials that he did like in the 80s, Martin Lawrence was that one who could bring that kind of rawness, which was really nice for the 90s, because the 90s always for me, when I look here, especially like, I was growing up as a kid then, it always was that kind of like a grittiness and raw, that's how it was like. And for mine to really like, be able to speak about that, and he could relate to the audience about like all these situations, what I mean? Like it was nice, like he would always bring like the Shanae character from Martin, he was doing that in the Def Comedy Jam show, like, oh, this is how black girls talk, he did that, and he was able to translate that as a character to his TV show, and he was so cool as well, like with interacting with the audience members, to make them all feel part of the show. So yeah, man, so let me go on to like, who really stood out, because there is in my experience, this is how like the show came for me. Similar like the Martin TV series show, I watched this after the 90s. What I mean? Again, over here we didn't have the leniency of them showing like all these all these TV black sitcoms. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the only one, and they also showed like Sister Sister and Kenan and Kel. What? But like they showed them lot continuously. It jumped on from Nickelodeon. It jumped on from, they showed Hanging with Mr. Cooper as well, which was for a bit spell. But those are the main ones, and they've just jumped from channel to channel. But like this, of course, especially with his rawness, it never played. So me, again, I didn't do my research while I was in university, and I was like, doing, studying this, and like, watching these DVDs, I came across that, so I remember when I got the DVDs, I had the actual whole box set before, back in the day, like a decade ago, and I used to always watch it late night before I go to bed, and it was a situation of I was laughing so loud, neighbors were banging on the wall saying, keep it down, because it was just, it used to make my just like gut and my jaws hurt, like how much like you couldn't help yourself laugh to this amazing material. And yeah, so like the great like My great standout this performance from this show, I always have to highlight like Chris Tucker appearing just the two times he appears in this, when he did the impersonation of Michael Jackson's like, come here girl, I said come here girl. Yeah, amazing. He lit the crowd. You had some of the audience members going like, yo, 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 Chris Tucker's the phone, Chris Tucker's the phone. And what helped this is like he was on this, of course, before he appeared in one of his most noble roles, Friday. You know what I mean? So him just blowing up on this stage helped him to land hits Friday, Fifth Element, Money Talks, and of course Rush Hour. That was a standout one, probably one of the best like comedic performances. It was such a short share because you'll find that most comedians on there, like I said, mine was the main host, and you would have like three other acts that would play, so they were probably on there anyway from 4 to maybe like a set just underneath 10 minutes, and mine would introduce each one. He'd be the main guy and introduce the next one, introduce the next one, introduce the next one. Then at the end, he would close in and he would bring up Russel Simmons on stage, and he'd say, God bless and that. I'm gonna talk a bit about Russel Simmons a later on. But like Chris Tucker was a special talent, and he was he wasn't most demonstrated. It was demonstrated so stupendously on this, Another great one was the king of comedy, Bernie Mac, who Bernie Mac appeared on this. The ones I saw was twice he appeared on that, and the one he slayed it. He was with the DJ who basically cued in this music every time you go kick it, dun 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 dun. You don't understand. I ain't scared of you, mofo. He allowed the DJ to like kept on like playing with the crowd. Every time Bernie Mac did a joke, DJ sliced the music. Then it would come back and and Bernie Mac would be like, you don't understand. Which just became such a great show. You had the fans like leaping on the other side of the audience center, like dying of laughter, So that's definitely the I think those were the top two, like in my opinion, the Chris Tucker and the Bernie Mac stand up, OJ Simpson, like fleeing on the freeway from killing his like white, Caucasian ex-wife. You had Lorraine Bobbitt, I think that's her name, the crazy white girl who sliced her husband's genitals because she wasn't intimate enough with her. So there was so much like crazy like circumstances, situations that was going in the 90s, and they always took out that kind of material and made it within their own, so they could kind of relate it to the black audience. Even though most of the stuff was like, sometimes it was like white topic matters and some of them are black, they always kind of brought it into their own thing and made it funny. Because it's similar with the Michael Jackson, like he had the accusations of, with the sleeping with the children, or like how Michael Jackson's face changed from like the late 80s to the early 90s. Eddie Griffin did that whole joke, like Michael Jackson must be on crack. Someone who would mess up their face on purpose must be doing something, So it was just great how they were able to, attract, get that subject matter, which is a touchy subject matter, and get the humor out of it, which was tremendous. And and what was really cool as well, even though the TV series was like a very like black, male dominated show, like very raw, where they're talking about like, sex, they're talking about like drug use, like very like raw topics, You had women who were on there, like I mentioned Angela Means, who was on this, I think either before or after the Friday film came out, she was on there. Queen Latifah, who's on Living Single, she appeared on this. I believe Monique from the Parkers appeared, Yvette Nelson, a few of the female comedians, Samore, who's a great one, she appeared on that. And as dirty and downright bad as the guys were, the women were just insane. It's insane as well, I remember Samore told a joke about giving a fellatio to Denzel Washington, that's a great stand-up set, saying like how she met Denzel, and she had to kind of tell like Paulette Washington to go away while she with Denzel, and yeah, it's better if you watch it. You know, I really don't want to ruin the joke, but yeah, I've always been a fan of some more. You know, she later on hosted the later shows, the later series as well. You know, so yeah, it was just a great way of just balancing. You know, both of the different you know, the different type of niches, you know, like different audience types. You know, you had the, you know, the males who could be that kind of thing, yeah, yo, I get this much gold, blah 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 blah, and the women could just say, yeah, all I need is some pelvic action, you know. So it was great. And yeah, if I go into like Russel Simmons, you know, like we all know Russel Simmons, you know, yeah, like, you know, Russel Simmons, you know, co-founder of like Def Jam. You know, he was really big with like bringing notable music acts such as the Beastie Boys, and also you know, Run DMC, you know, Layer Third Bass, you know, a lot of like the big music, you know, rap, hip hop, the hop, the hip hop, you know, that came out of the 80s was mostly responsible for Russel Simmons. So I really love how he went from that kind of music scene to come into the comedy, you know, comedy scene, which he must have obviously been a fan of, you know. And what was really a no, what was a, you know, I did always do my kind of research with her, you know, Robin Harris, who I even forgot to mention about how great that comedian is, like in you know, Robin Harris actually appeared in Mo Bear Blues, which I, you know, forgot to mention. You know, he appeared in the legendary and great musical comedy House Party. You know, he was actually meant to be the original, to actually be the actual host instead of Martin Lawrence. You know, it was only that sadly, you know, Robin Harris passed away while this show was launching off. You know, so Martin Lawrence actually had the duties, but yeah, it would have been nice if I would have loved, because Robin Harris was one of them, you know, real like OG comedians, you know, who could have really made that show even as great as it could have been, even more better with the inclusion of him, you know. So yeah, as it says on here, you know, and this is from two credible, you know, newspaper like posts. You know, it says like non-stop Ryan, brash, defiant, exuberant, life affirming, and laugh affirming at the same time, from the Washington Post. Def Comedy Jam is a hit from the Los Angeles Times. You know, so it was just really cool for like any upcoming black comedian who really wanted to like showcase like, look, I'm the new Eddie Murphy, you know, because it felt like everyone here at this time was literally trying to follow Eddie Murphy, because at this time Eddie Murphy, he still was the grand poobah of the, you know, of the comedian. How Kevin Hart is now, Eddie Murphy was that, but even on another bigger level. You know, Eddie Murphy at this time, you know, he had his like, you know, Nutty Professor, you know, and also like what was it? I want to say Vampire in Brooklyn. Now, Eddie Murphy in the 90s did kind of take a dip with, you know, the film and movies he had. You know, he really came back with Nutty Professor. You know, it was this bad kind of ring with like he had Boomerang, which is really great but didn't do well critically, you know, and he had Vampire in Brooklyn, Beverly Hills Cop 3, and there was another, I think it was maybe Metro, which came in late, but the 90s movies with Eddie Murphy weren't on the same level as like, you know, the first Beverly Hills Cop or Coming to America, you know, but Eddie Murphy still was an international superstar, you know. Eddie Murphy is basically what Kevin Hart is now, but there's probably people out there still gonna know that, you know, Kevin Hart is obviously Kevin Hart. You know, I'll even put it even now, right? Like, alright, speaking of comedy, because Kevin Hart actually appeared in this series, you know, because this series had a revival later in the 2000s after it finished from its original run from 1992 to 97. I'd say like that new gen of comedians like Dion Cole, I probably like the Wayans brothers, you know, and like, you know, obviously Kevin Hart, you know, pretty much people who appeared in like Kevin Hart's projects, you know, like you know, Tony Rock, you know, they appeared on the you know, next revival show, which started in the mid 2000s, you know. Yeah, so like with like the Kevin Hart and Eddie Murphy debate, if you want to talk obviously like in success wise, obviously how much money Kevin Hart is accumulating, how he's kind of he's able to kind of transfer into made pop culture. He is, no matter what you want to say, he is a pop culture name. You know, where the difference with it, because Eddie Murphy was basically that, in the 80s. It's like how he went from Madonna to Rihanna, Michael Jackson, Bruno Mars. It's Eddie now to Kevin. The main difference I'll say from them two is like with Eddie there was always this kind of like superstar quality that he was able to bring to his films, that he could kind of carry the film better than Kevin Hart, where and I can critique him because I've seen Kevin Hart's films. I am a fan of Kevin Hart. I watched like Central Intelligence, I watched Ride Along, I watched Think Like a Man. you know where it is like if like them movies I've just mentioned, Kevin Hart always feels he's the main guy, but he always feels like he's always that kind of funny, supporting kind of actor. You know what I mean? He didn't have like I still think he doesn't have like a critically acclaimed and funny movie like Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy is funny, but he's also able to bring that cool and swagger, and he's able to be the main. He's the main protagonist. He's not played as that kind of like, tap dancing coon guy. It's the white guys who have to follow him. The two Roosevelt, the two cops that are with Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop, they have to follow him, but Eddie Murphy's the main guy. If you flip that to Kevin Hart, like in Ride Along, most time he's just that kind of, basically like what Mike Epps was to Ice Cube in the Friday films. He's just like that kind of annoying accomplice that you just slap in the head, the one who always trip up, you make fun about his height. Funny, but it's a different way how to use it. Eddie Murphy could be the funny action adventure guy like in Golden Child, like in Beverly Hills Cop. Coming to America, which is just a different role. Eddie Murphy's still able to be the protagonist, the ladies' man, and he's able to kill it with the comedy. Again, what Eddie Murphy did more brilliant than Kevin Hart. Eddie was able to play multiple characters. He did that in Coming to America, he did that in Nutty Professor. Such a great film, but he did that in Vampire Brooklyn. And he's able to do it so distinct that you sometimes won't even look in and say, is that Eddie? So that's what I've always seen, because now obviously in this kind of era, the whole idea of like the money scale thing is totally irrelevant, because the way they pay people now to pay the way they used to pay people back in the day, it's basically apples and oranges. They pay people way much higher now. But I'm saying, like, if you talk about like bona fide star, and like I mean an international, a legend, the comparison is, the price is not there. Eddie Murphy is always gonna take that mantle, and that's no disrespect to Kevin Hart. Mention how much times Chris Rock appears in this. Even with Chris Rock, I wasn't the biggest Chris Rock fan until like Everybody Hates Chris. And the reason I wasn't even onto Chris Rock was, again, I had not seen most of his material, because again, one thing with the thing with the black comedy, but black comedians, is it's a very interesting thing. If you sometimes don't have like this major smash here, like for instance, Chris Tucker, with the Rush Hour films he got, that 1, 2, 3 with Jackie Chan, he hit really comedic gold, that he's not only a star in America, but in he goes to Asia and China, they know who Chris Tucker is. Just him being the pair with Jackie Chan and having that great, tremendous chemistry, he's that international superstar. So some people know him more than Chris Rock, because Chris Rock has only been in them more of American kind of production film, good films, but not like blockbuster, And it's sometimes again and this also ties with on Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle hands down is one of the funniest comedians ever, appeared numerous times on this, but until the Chappelle show, he wasn't seen as the like the next Eddie Murphy or the next Richard Pryor, because they'd only seen him in these kind of handful supporting roles. When the Chappelle show came out, he was able to bring what kind of he was doing on here, the times he appeared on, his skits, about talking about the white supremacists. He was able to relay that and bring that onto his own show with his own format and his own creative team. He was able to do that. So that could always be that just kind of, shame that as funny as, because there was many funny comedians on this. So a great example of this is Bill Bellamy, who originated the term booty call. After this show came out, after this show, when this show ended, Bill Bellamy didn't really have like the career I think he should have had. He appeared on like the MTV Summer Jams as a host, but I wanted him to be that same kind of level as Chris Tucker, that Rush Hour level, but that never came past. Who knows if he wanted his career to be that way, because sometimes you get some of these comedians who they're so naturally funny, but sometimes they don't want to put that kind of work to get onto that next level. So they'll just be kind of comfortable with just doing stand-ups in towns like, San Jose, what I mean, like these small kind of towns, and like not really getting in that kind of, Kevin Hart like mass appeal level, I mean, anyone who's a fan of like any of these comedians, and if you want to see like where they originally started from, it would be best just to take time and just like watch this show. You can always they always sell these DVD sets of each time they appear, like each full episode, so just grab one and watch this, man. It's non-stop entertainment. So yes guys, that's my review on Def Comedy Jam. Stay tuned for more TV/movie reviews from the 90s. Peace, two fingers.